All right, welcome everyone. My name is Terrance Fleming, and I am the development manager with Red Panda Network, and we are in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in the United States. So we're across the pond from Paradise Park, where we were earlier this morning, and we were in Sweden really early this morning, and then yesterday we were in Japan and Australia. So it's so cool to be all over the world talking to these awesome red panda keepers and zoo staff about their red pandas and the awesome conservation work they do. And yeah, so we're here with Julia McKay, who is one of John Ball Zoo's red panda keepers. And this is really exciting for a lot of reasons, including John Ball Zoo recently had 3 red panda cubs. So they're sleeping now and we don't want to disturb them. So they're gonna show us some footage of the cubs in a little bit. But first, I just want to, say hi to Julia and let her tell us about the Red Pandas and thank everyone for being here with us on International Red Panda Day, which is really exciting. So Julia, take it away, please, and just tell us about your Red Pandas and also what your zoo's doing today.
Sure. Hello. So welcome to John Ball Zoo from Grand Rapids, Michigan, the state that waves at you from space. So we currently have 5 red pandas here. We did recently just have triplets. So we have Wyatt and Wasabi. Wasabi is mum. Wyatt is 8 years old, and Wasabi, I think she's just about 4 now. And then our triplets, they were born at the end of June. So they're starting to look more like pandas and less like little grey fluff balls. They've got their coloration in, excuse me. So right now you can see behind me this little building here. This is actually where we keep our red pandas. It's kind of closed off right now because we wanted to give Wasabi and the cubs some privacy. As an animal that has many predators, they like their privacy and space. And then further in there, there's actually different, we call them nest boxes. I think you've probably seen those in some of the other videos. But then the red pandas like to move their cubs from different boxes around, which is always a fun game of where the pandas today. So we actually have little cameras in each of the boxes, and we look at our computers every day to kind of tell where they are, because it's not very nice initially just to kind of stick your face in there and say, are you in here? They have 3 different ones in there that she can move the cubs to.
Real quick, I think Darby is trying to share her screen, right? But the all we're seeing is just the browser that you're looking at. So. I think it's because you're muted.
Technical difficulties, everybody. We're still here.
Yeah, it's these days. It's just to be expected. Everything has to be relying on technology. So, there you go. There we go.
There we go. Do we have it? Okay, so this is a picture of Wasabi, the mum, and then Wyatt. Wyatt's got a bit of a more red face. This is a very cute video. So this is actually one of my favorite memories of Wyatt. This stick had been in this exhibit for the last 1.5 years, and he suddenly decided one day that it was the best thing ever. So he was just having fun there, and I don't know if you can see, but when they put their paws up above their head, it's kind of a typical panda play excitement type thing. So he's having a ball there. That was very interesting that he suddenly discovered that stick and thought it was amazing. So like I was saying, recently we had triplets, and we named them Rose, Ruby, and Willow. John Ball Zoo actually did a naming contest where there were various names that some keepers and some donors and some other individuals suggested, and then the public got to vote on them for I think it was like $1 a vote donation, and we raised I think nearly $14,000. And we had people from all different states and I think a few different countries as well. I think through England and Canada, I think too. So we raised a lot of money. And then the final names that we got were Rose, Ruby, and Willow, which I'm not quite sure which one's which yet. We're still figuring out their different personalities. But the video that you are probably seeing right now is we did that yesterday. We're doing something called a Panda Socialization. And what we've been trying to do is get them used to their keepers being around them. And part of that was we had them coming out of the nest box and we're letting them kind of climb around. They're at the stage now that they will start kind of doing that on their own. Up until now, they've been staying in that nest box and just being carried around by mum. But now they're getting a bit more mobile. They're in the video. You can see they're a little bit clumsy still. It takes some skill to walk around and hang onto those branches. I know I definitely can't do it. Yeah. So talking a bit more about the socialization. So Wasabi and Wyatt are both social distancing and COVID. They were used for we did some special behind the scenes where people could come and meet them and learn about them, and so that would give them the socialization helps get the pandas used to that. So if these three cubs end up being in that situation, then they'll be used to human touch. Now Wasabi, she was ultrasound trained by one of our keepers and our veterinarian. And I don't know if many of you know, but ultrasounds, it takes a lot of poking and prodding on your belly. So you have to be pretty comfortable with the people doing that. And it's very difficult to communicate to an animal when you don't speak the same language. So it took a lot of trust and training, a lot of grapes and a lot of raisins and craisins and dried blueberries, because that's their favorite training treat. It took, I think, only a few weeks before we were able to get an ultrasound and able to see that there were 3 cubs coming. So that was really helpful because we were able to monitor their growth, and we were able to, see that they were doing okay and kind of have like an estimated due date. Like I said, Wasabi gave birth at the end of June. And so we were predicting around then, beginning of July. So then when the cubs were born, it was really important to monitor them because they stay in that nest box. Even though we have those cameras, it's really hard to see what each of them are doing, especially if they're nursing. Sorry, my technical assistant having some difficulty there. She's acting a bit like a panda. It's quite funny. They're a bit clumsy. What was I saying? I've totally lost my train of thought. So when you're looking at the camera, it's really hard to see if those cubs are nursing because it's really just 3 little balls of red fluff, well, grayish fluff in the beginning, and then Wasabi, and they're all trying to get in under there. So what we had been doing is we started taking them out and getting them used to people, touching them, getting them used to us. And then we were taking those opportunities to weigh them as well, make sure that they are gaining weight equally, that they're not being outcompeted, making sure that health-wise that they're appearing okay. So our veterinarian was a part of that. And so we started that, I think, pretty early on, maybe after like a month. And the red pandas are really interesting, at least the ones that we've had here, which is just white Wasabi and now the 3 cubs. They're kind of neutral. They don't quite care if you're there. Like there's difference to some of the animals, but as long as you have treats, they'll do stuff. So in the beginning, when we would go to get them out of the nest box, they started doing these really interesting vocalizations, which red pandas have some crazy vocalizations. My favorite being the huff quack, which I'm going to give you an example of because I've been working on this all week.
Please do. I'm so excited to hear this.
But it's that was my huff quack.
That was incredible. I also love the Huff Quack, and well done, well done.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Huff Quack? Why they use that sound and maybe some of their other vocalizations. They also tweet, right? They also make a tweeting sound.
They do.
Not like tweet on Twitter, but I mean.
They don't. Yeah. No, they don't tweet on Twitter. Neither do I. So. Yeah, so I can't actually whistle, so I can't do that sound for you. So that's all you need to do that. But yeah, the Huff Quack, from what I can gauge, it's kind of a stay away from me kind of vocalization. Like if they don't seem too happy, so it's more like a warning sound. I don't know with wild pandas if that's the experience you guys have had.
I've never heard of that being done in the wild.
Okay.
But yeah, it's probably more when they're in more of an enclosed spot. I would imagine.
Okay. I never had it before. It's very entertaining, and it's really cute to have this tiny little red ball of fluff kind of coming at you, like, you know.
Right. And they stand on their hind legs too sometimes, right?
They do, and they're like, so yeah, it's cute, but scary for their benefit.
Right. Right. They're stressed out a little bit, so
yeah,
you want to back off and let them.
Definitely, and that is something that we did take into account. Making sure that we separated Mum off and made sure, first of all, when we did these socializations, that she was absolutely comfortable with that. We don't want her to be stressed. We don't want to endanger the cubs and her relationship with them in any way. We don't want her to stop producing milk or anything. So the benefit of us having that relationship with her prior and doing a lot of that training was we were able to build up that trust. So when it came to time to separating her, just briefly, only for a couple of minutes to do these socializations, they would make those sounds, and we would have someone else there, reinforcing her with her food. And she got to the point where she was needing to produce so much milk, because the cubs were getting really big, and there's 3 of them, which, from my understanding, isn't too typical. I think the average is usually 2. So she was feeding a lot of milk, so she was just really hungry. So she was pretty happy just eating off the side there. So we would separate her out, and then we would pull them, and then we would get weights on them, and they would do their huff quacking. And then sometimes they would do the little the tweeting sound, which is also, it sounds a lot like the sound that Wyatt makes during breeding season, which is kind of like the January time. Terrance, I don't know if you can whistle and do the tweeting sound.
I mean, I can whistle, but I don't know if it'll sound anything like a Red Panda's tweet. But
go on, give it a try. I did the huff quack.
I mean, does it actually sound like a whistle? Is it like? It's not like a very good whistle.
No, it's better than mine. It's kind of like a bird, like a.
Totally. Yep. Actually, that was way better than I can do. Yeah.
Okay.
What I've heard, it does sound like a bird. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, when I first had Wyatt doing it, I was cleaning the exhibit, and I just kept hearing. I was like, what kind of bird does that? But then I found out it was him. So then when the baby started doing it, so first it was huff quacks, and then it was this little chittering sound. And I think that vocalization is more kind of them talking to each other and talking to Mom. It's not really a negative thing. They did make squeaks sometimes, which they did without us even there. I think sometimes Mom would be going off to get some food or just have a timeout, and they would make some little squeaks, and then she'd come running over and pop her head in and be like, "What's going on, guys?" And they would just be like, "Oh, we just didn't know where you were." So we were very cautious of all of that too. If anyone was getting stressed, and then we would kind of stop it there. But it's been really good because we've been able to keep good tabs on their health and making sure that they are really healthy, and it was really fun.
Right, that's great. Is this Wasabi's first litter?
It is, yes.
Okay, cool.
It's not Wyatt's first though, so
okay.
Yeah, so he just started being reintroduced back with the cubs. So he's been a dad before, so that's something that we also keep an eye on too. We introduce Mum and Dad back together, and so his personality, he's a bit more laid back. Big fan of eating and sleeping and eating and sleeping. And I would say that she's more of the boss, kind of, and she stares him down quite a bit, which I'm getting the feeling from listening to some of these videos that all the females kind of tend to be that way. So she was just very observant of him and just really, making sure, this is my place and, this is my space. So yeah, and then he would just go around the dens, just smelling all the smells. That's very interesting, being like, this kind of smells like me, but it doesn't smell like me.
Right,
I don't really know what's going on. And then doing the little butt wiggles, where he's sensing on everything.
Right.
So yeah.
So is Wyatt involved at all in the caretaking of the cubs, or?
No, he's not. It's not really the father's thing.
I'm just not into that.
No, you know what? And I don't think Wasabi would let him, to be completely honest with
protective mother, protective.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't blame you. They're really cute. I'd be pretty protective.
Absolutely, totally. Right.
Yeah. I mean, he popped his head in like the first couple of times that we reintroduced him, and I think he kind of was like, oh, these things again. They kind of turn up once in a while, like,
Right.
So.
Well, so I guess what he lacks in fatherhood, Wyatt is obviously a part of your species survival plan efforts, because I know that John Ball Zoo is part of the AZA, and so and this being Wasabi's first litter, obviously you do conservation work by supporting programs like ours, but you also are involved in the species survival plan. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the AZA is the Association for Zoos and Aquariums that we are a part of. It's an accrediting body, and then we're also, for the Red Pandas, we're part of the species survival plan. And we have a bunch of different species at our institution, but Red Pandas is one of those. And so within that plan is a whole bunch of red pandas that are at different zoological associations, and their genetic line, their families are registered there. The aim of that being that we're able to maintain that genetic diversity and all the different lineages. So there's a lot of work that goes into that. There's a lot of pairing that has to be done. There's actually something called the stud book, where you have a list of all the different fathers and like whether and mothers, and whether like this line is well represented now. So now we're going to move on to this one. And so the pandas tend to kind of move around to different zoos now and again to make those pairings. And by keeping the genetic diversity, we're able to keep that in zoos. And then if one day we're able to re-release red pandas into the wild, then we have that, because we don't have genetic diversity. If something happens that affects one population, that affects like one gene, then that just would obliviate all of them.
Julie, that was a just excellent explanation of the SSP, and that was really thorough and spot on. Thank you for explaining that, because that was way better job than I could have done. And yeah, and I mean, I think everyone can probably hear how important that is for both maintaining a healthy, zoo population of red pandas, but also, as you mentioned, it can be sort of like a reserve of individuals in case the population's in the wild, which hopefully never happens, and we're working really hard to make sure that doesn't. But it's there in case we need it. So that's so great. I have to go back to something that was said, which is, did you say craisins is one of favorite treats? That's a first. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they really like grapes, so
right.
And they really like craisins and dried blueberries and regular raisins. So they're really good training treats. They're small, because I mean the pandas don't weigh that much. So I think Wyatt is maybe like a little over like 5 kg, which is like over 10 pounds, I think.
That is light, yeah, for the size of a red panda. I mean, I actually have never really thought about that, but that probably, I'm assuming, is because they're an arboreal species, so it would benefit them to be a lighter animal when they're climbing around on branches way off the ground everything.
Yeah.
So that interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It probably is like better for, you know, to be smaller, for not to be spotted by predators. I imagine an elephant in a tree would be kind of, you know, obvious. So.
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
Not that elephants can climb trees, I'm not saying that.
Awesome. Very cool. So if you're just joining us, I am Terrance Fleming, and I'm with the Red Panda Network, and we are in Grand Rapids, Michigan, with John Ball Zoo, and we're talking to Julia McKay about their red pandas, and we're celebrating International Red Panda Day, which is so exciting to have it be here, and it's a little different this year, but it's also been such a just thrill to be at all these different zoos all over the world. And John Ball Zoo has been a generous supporter of Red Panda Network, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But if you have any questions for Julia or me, please just leave them as comments on the Facebook stream on our Facebook account. And yeah, so I guess it'd be really great I think people would love to know, how long have you been working with red pandas? How long have you been a red panda keeper? Or a zookeeper, I should say.
Okay, so I've been a zookeeper here at John Ball Zoo for a little over 6 years. I think I'm coming up on 7 actually. But I interned here back in 2010, and then I volunteered. And then I became a keeper. So, you know, all in all, I think, you know, I must put in about 10 years work, which is fantastic. But we've only had red pandas since 2017. We've never had them at John Ball Zoo before. John Ball Zoo is actually, I think, the 10th oldest zoo in the country. We're 130 years old, which is really, really old. So it's actually really neat that we get to both have them here, have people be able to see them, because what is it, like 2,500 red pandas in the wild, that people get to experience that, because some people will just never see red pandas. And it's actually really amazing to kind of educate people and talk to them about pandas, because, you know, you say the word panda and everyone thinks of the bear, the big, you know, white and black one. But we like to, you know, say that they're not the lesser panda, as everyone says. They're the original panda. They're very, you know, so we like to put an emphasis on their importance. And they've been really important. When Wyatt first got here, like, he was such a hit. I think we even had like a red panda IPA at one point at one of the local breweries. We have a lot of microbreweries around here, so that was really neat.
Nice, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, we obviously love giant pandas too, but we're just stating a fact that red pandas were first, and yeah, so.
Yeah, not
cool.
not dissing giant pandas.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Very cool. So, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, so John Ball Zoo donated last year in support of what we're actually campaigning for right now, which is Plant a Red Panda Home, and they generously donated $10,000, and about half of that went to Plant a Red Panda Home, and the other half went to creating herder tents and improved cooking stoves for herders. So what that means is, one of the bigger threats to red panda habitat in Nepal is livestock and livestock herding. And local herders, they build these herder huts that they live in for part of the year while they're with their livestock, and they're really high maintenance. They require a lot of wood to to keep as shelter, and obviously the only place to get wood around there is in the local forest. So trees are cut down, and wood is extracted. And so we have been working with herders in designing these tents that are portable. So instead of herders having to they actually have to have multiple huts, because they move from location to location depending on the time of year. And so these tents are actually portable, and they can carry them. They require no wood at all, and they're actually much more efficient. They require little to no maintenance, and they keep the heat in, and they just provide better shelter for these herders. And then also these cooking stoves are also same idea, much more efficient. They require a lot less fuel wood, which again would normally come from the forest. And so that, I mean, that's been such a huge part of our community-based conservation initiatives. And then the other, which is Plant a Red Panda Home, which is what we're fundraising for on our Give Butter event page, is an effort to, so we're planting trees and we're restoring degraded habitat, core red panda habitat in Nepal. And our goal is to connect these forest patches. So red panda habitat in Nepal is very fragmented, and it's made up of about 400 forest patches. And so we're planting trees and connecting these fragmented areas to create a wildlife corridor. And so John Ball Zoo has been supporting that, and they're actually one of our first Panda Challengers, which means their impact has actually doubled. So it's just been wonderful having a relationship with John Ball Zoo, and we're just so honored by their support. And I just want to thank you right now, for being on the team and connecting people with red pandas. The work you do is so important. I mean, obviously, Wyatt and Wasabi are ambassadors for red panda conservation for their cousins, their family in the wild, and also just for being part of an organization that is supporting what we do. So thank you so much, Julia.
Oh no, thank you. It's great to be able to do that. I think this is our fourth year, I think, supporting the Red Panda Network. Actually, this year, so we do International Red Panda Day, which because of the social distancing, we're going to be doing a little bit different this year.
Right.
We'll be kind of having a hybrid event. It's online. It's going to be online and through the zoo, so people can still kind of come to celebrate, but they can still see things online as well. There's going to be a lot of different signage around the zoo, and we're going to have like an awareness banner so people can learn a bit more about their plight and kind of the things that you were talking about. Education is, one of the huge things that we celebrate here at John Ball Zoo. We want to educate people about why animals are like the red panda are endangered, and what you can do at home to help. So people can come do that. We'll also hope throughout the week we'll have a bunch of social media posts and videos on various things about red pandas and about ours. I'm sure there'll be plenty of baby videos on there, which will be really, really neat too. And then this live chat as well. So hello in the future will be put out sometime as well.
Very cool. So if anyone wants to support the great work you do, obviously going to the zoo would be a great way to do that, because that's essentially a donation to your mission, right? Is there anything else that people can do to support your work?
Yeah, so just to shout out our website, it's jbzoo.org, like it's spelled JBZoo. It's Z, I'm told saying not a Z, OO.org. And that's where you can give online. Thank you in advance if you do that. That would be absolutely fantastic. And then other things that you can do is find ways to make sure that you're recycling. I know that you were talking about the trees and the deforestation earlier, and though recycling helps in your own community, and it helps other communities too, with that kind of trickle effect as well. Educating yourself and your kids, going to the library, getting books, I was reading the Red Panda Network website earlier, and it's got some fantastic information about conservation and the different research you guys are doing and all the different things that you can do at home, which is really, really neat. And you can learn a lot about red pandas. We're still learning a lot about them. They're quite a interesting, mysterious species. Just teaching the next generation as well. Kids, we're finding here that kids are filling themselves with all this knowledge and really educating their parents, which is really interesting, because they're just getting so excited about things, and then that's getting other people excited. So yeah.
Absolutely, definitely, yeah. Yeah, and thanks for bringing up the future generation of conservationists too. And we actually have what we call a Red Panda Ranger program, where kids can essentially receive badges and a certificate for telling their friends about red pandas and learning about them. And I know typically in a typical International Red Panda Day year, a lot of zoos have you know, stations where kids can become red panda rangers, but obviously this year is very different. So, but yeah, if you live in Michigan, if you live near John Ball Zoo, please visit. They do awesome work, and we're really just thrilled to be here and just honored to be supported by them. So, there's actually a question here on Facebook. Someone's wondering, how long will Rose, Ruby, and Willow, the cubs, stay at John Ball before transfer to another zoo? Is there typically a waiting period?
You know, I'm not quite sure what our plans for that. I know that the something we have to look out for is when the cubs will become sexually mature, because we don't want to kind of mess up with that genetic line I was kind of talking about earlier. So that usually happens about I think like 18 months they become sexually mature. But we will be working with the SSP and kind of discussing with them what their plans are, because like I was saying about the genetic diversity, they kind of look at that stud book and see like where they would be best placed to maybe you know, kind of top up a genetic line that might not be as represented as some of the other ones too. And then at the same time, we also want to make sure that we are, you know, not moving animals around too often, because you know that can take an effect. So we also take into account like, you know, their welfare and their well-being, so they're not constantly just moving around. Yeah, so I don't have a definitive answer on that, but you know, we are very we're very on social media, can't find words. So I'm sure you'll see it on our Facebook page or on our website. Yeah, just keep on there, because we're always posting things about the red pandas, because people can't stop looking at them. So we shouldn't blame them. They're very, very cute and very
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's something that I think that's a great question, because that's something that, you know, I don't have much knowledge about, and it's obviously something that just people in you know, in a zoo environment would really have insight on. So that's
yeah,
great.
yeah. I mean, most likely they'll probably go somewhere for breeding, for recommending of breeding. We just don't know when that would be, or you know, where that would be.
Right. I'm sure it takes a lot of planning, and it has to be very strategic and all that stuff. So
it does, yeah. There's a lot of work that goes into each different SSP, and it goes down. There's like a trickle effect. Like we have institutional representatives at each zoo for a species. So for red panda, we have one person, and they work with the SSPs. So then if we have any questions about husbandry or anything like that, we can kind of talk to them. And then if there's things about breeding, so we've been talking to them a lot about what's been going on with our cubs, and you know, making sure that we're doing the best thing for them. And then it kind of goes into this really kind of like larger network within the AZA. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of hard work, both at our zoo and within that network for this just one species. So you can imagine how many people are kind of doing all the different things for different animals.
definitely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we don't have a lot of time left, but I would just love to know, what's your favorite thing about red pandas? I know we've talked a lot about them, but I mean, is it besides the huff quack? Let's
you know, I was going to say that.
I mean, because honestly, that's probably my answer too. But
yeah.
But besides the huff quack, what's your favorite?
I guess they're just kind of a bit clumsy, somewhat.
Okay.
They're not. I mean, they're wonderful and they're cute and everything like that, but sometimes they can be a bit goofy. And a good example of that is when we first Wyatt and Wasabi are kind of you know, seen each other and met each other a bit. And then when we first put them on the exhibit together, you know, I was saying that Wasabi like kind of stares him down and just, you know, make sure to keep a good eye on him. He was on another branch, and she just leapt at him and completely missed the branch and just like fell down. which it wasn't too far, but it was very cute because it was like the cutest little paws, just like, oh, I missed. Yeah, I think that they just randomly will do really cute panda things.
Well, it's probably similar to a cat, right? Because when a cat and cats are pretty graceful, obviously, and agile, but they aren't always. And when they are clumsy, it's pretty funny because they also always land on their feet. Usually, I should say usually, not always, but that makes it pretty entertaining. And I'm sure with red pandas, it's pretty similar.
Yep, no, it's very similar. Yep, very, very similar. Yeah.
One thing that, go ahead, please.
Oh no, I was just going to talk about their little pseudo thumb wrist bone.
Yeah,
thing.
please do. Yeah.
Oh well, I kind of just said it.
Okay.
No, that's okay. They have a modified wrist bone, so it kind of acts like a thumb, so it's kind of like a pseudo thumb, and that really helps them kind of like grab onto things and climb. Also, because they are arboreal, they like to climb in trees. And one really cool thing about them is they'll actually like climb down, like facing down. I don't know if you've ever tried to climb a tree and then go down facing down, but it's not that easy.
No, it's not. It's incredible they can do it, and one of the few species that can, right? I mean,
I believe so. Yeah. So
one of the things that I've been noticing a lot, especially during these chats when we see red pandas, that I really appreciate is just how they walk with their feet turned inward. It's kind of almost like sort of pigeon-toed, and it's very carnivore-like. It reminds me of like the way a tiger would, like a tiger sort of strut. I don't know. I've never seen an animal besides like a tiger or a lion walk like that. Like a large wild cat usually is what does that. But
yeah, they're certainly their own thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, they deserve to have their own. Was it family?
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they deserve to. Yep. I wasn't sure how to pronounce that. Thank you.
I could be pronouncing it wrong, but I think
okay.
That's right.
How did you pronounce it?
Alertier?
Alertier.
Yeah, but I've heard it pronounced other ways too. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, they definitely deserve to be in their own thing. They're very interesting. Yeah.
Someone's watching this from John Ball Zoo, and they asked, "Will Wasabi stay with Wyatt at John Ball Zoo?
Oh,
Will they stay together?"
Who asked that?
Taryn McGrew.
Oh, okay. Well, so it depends on that SSP program, like I was talking about. Also, Wyatt is actually on loan from us from Detroit Zoo. So if he's needed over there for breeding for any reason, if the SSP thinks that he should go over there, maybe they have a panda that a female that he would do well breeding with, or if we need like a male to come in for Wasabi, it just really depends on like where that genetic, where that lineage is. And I think they do like annual reports on the species survival plan, like that. So they've got that stud book I was talking to you about, and then they do these annual reports of where everyone is. And there's like a top of the list would be like this lineage is really represented well. And then like going down the line. So I'm not quite sure where Wasabi or why it is. But like I said, we're always posting things on social media. So that's something that when we know, you'll know.
Great. Yeah, that's cool that someone's there and also involved on the chat. That's technology's pretty awesome like that.
No, it is. Kind of funny.
Yeah, well, this has just been awesome, and thank you for all the insight on like the SSP, and I mean I think this is really important education for people, and yeah, like Julia mentioned, please visit John Ball Zoo or donate on their website. They like all the zoos we're talking to, they are huge advocates and supporters of in situ conservation, and they're also doing important work on the sort of ex situ side too with the SSP work. So also, if you are feeling passionate about pandas and want to celebrate International Red Panda Day by supporting in situ work, which essentially means in their native habitat, in case you didn't know that, please go to our givebutter.com page, which is givebutter.com/IRPD 2020. We're, as I mentioned before, we're restoring red panda habitat in Nepal, and for every dollar you donate, we plant a tree. So if you give $25, we'll plant 25 trees, and our goal is to create a corridor that is enough space, enough habitat for a viable red panda population in Nepal. So, yeah, thank you so much, Julia. This has just been outstanding, and have a great rest of your day. And I hope festivities are fun. And yeah, thanks again.
No, thank you so much. This was really, really amazing. You know, and especially like seeing all the different places in the world that you guys are talking to today. Yeah. So, go Red Pandas.
Yay! International Red Panda Day.
Yeah, and practice the huff quack.
Okay, I'll practice it, and I'll be a professional huff quacker before you know it. Yeah, I'll be famous.
Good. Yeah, it's on the top of my resume there now. Vocalizations.
Good. Yeah, hired. Thanks, Julia. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.